this Gaikwad content is okay. So I'm going to refer this document. I'm going to share the screen. Please wait for a second. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm sharing the screen. We'll continue the discussion on the AC amplifier. Okay, so I think you guys can see the screen. Here we go. Okay, yes, last class, we discussed DC amplifier. This diagram. Okay, so let us not go into that again because we had a detailed discussion. Next is okay, AC, same normal DC amplifier. What we discussed. There we had a DC source. This was the DC source. We can replace this with AC. We can replace this with AC source, and we can use the same circuit. Okay, but what happens when we use the AC input? Okay, or the same circuit for the AC signals. Okay, um, just a second. Somebody's on the line. Okay, here we go. Okay, now okay. So what happens when we use the same circuits for the AC signals? So when we say AC, it can be low or high frequency limits signals basically. Okay, um, or if the AC input is reading. Okay, just a second. Somebody's on. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah. Um, okay, so if AC is input, okay, AC input is reading on a DC level. That means AC fed along with the DC. It is necessary to use an AC amplifier exclusively with what is known as a coupling capacitor. So that we'll discuss now. Okay. Example of AC amplifier using coupling. Okay, somebody's on the line. Okay, using the coupling capacitor. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah. AC amplifier which uses coupling capacitors. Example include audio receiver system. Okay, and consist of different stages. Uh, okay, thermal drift and component tolerance and variations, and DC level is produced in that audio receiver system. Okay, so to prevent the amplification of such DC levels, because in that stages, in that system there are multiple stages, and because of what is known as a thermal drift, Thermal drift means variation in the temperature. Component tolerances. Okay, so every component has its tolerance, like for example, resistor, capacitor. Okay, they have the tolerances and variations in the those value. Okay, and DC level is produced. Okay, so there exists a DC level in the AC amplifier. See, generally, guys, I'll go to this diagram. Okay, I'll explain with respect to this this one of the circuit, so that we understand what is this AC effect on the DC effect on the AC circuit. Okay, yes, this we discussed for the DC input. Okay, but replace you can we can replace this with AC, so it acts as a AC amplifier. But because of the thermal drift, and tolerances, okay, what happens is that though we are using AC input, so this is AC now. Okay, there exists DC component in the circuit. So what we expect, of course, we need DC. Why we need DC? This is just a second. Okay. Yeah, we need DC to bias the transistors. We need DC to bias the operational amplifier. Okay, so this is the operational biasing voltage. We need this. Because of this, also it exists. But input being AC, what we expect output to be is only AC. Without any DC component. But because of the temperature, thermal drifts, and variations in tolerance level, there exists DC component in the circuit. Okay, there exists DC component in the circuit. We have to overcome this DC component. Okay, so that the circuit acts as a purely AC amplifier circuit. Purely AC amplifier circuit. Okay, so for that we use what is known as a coupling capacitors. What is known as a coupling capacitor. As the name suggests, coupling in the sense, interfacing capacitors at a particular stage, either at the input or at the output stage. So where we couple and where we interface, we'll discuss now. Okay. So this side, this is for the DC amplifier. Okay. No, that circuit was for DC amplifier. Yeah. So, such AC amplifiers prevent the amplification of such DC levels. That is, if it is coupling capacitor is used, the DC levels can be minimized. So, coupling capacitors are used between the stages. Okay, that means when multiple op amps are interfaced. Let us say this is one stage of op amp. Okay, so this is connected to, let us say, one more stage of op amp, for example. Okay. What happens is that this stage both are AC amplifiers. Let us say both are AC amplifiers. Though both are AC amplifiers, we have just understood that there exists DC component in each amplifier, even in the AC amplifiers. We want to prevent DC component reaching the next stage. How to do that? Use a capacitor, because we know that capacitor acts as a AC short. Okay, AC short, and it prevents it blocks the DC. It blocks DC. There is advantage of course, capacitor is used for many purpose. One of the advantages, it blocks DC. Okay, so we can have capacitor at both the input stage as well as output stage. Okay, coupling capacitor at both the input stage as well as at the output stage. Okay, so that's what the author means to say. So 6th shows the AC inverter. Okay, we'll discuss. Coupling capacitor for both the inverting, non-inverting amplifier. Of course, we can actually have it for what you call voltage follower circuit, difference amplifier. For everything we can have. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, so the coupling capacitors. First, let us discuss the circuit, then get back to the formula. Okay, so we'll understand the formula better. Okay, here we go. This is, guys, figure number 6.3. Let me zoom out. But to zoom out, you may not be able to see properly. That's why I'll discuss at this stage. First circuit, what we discuss is an AC inverting amplifier, then the non-inverting amplifier. Of course, as the author says, the op amp is given for a 14-pin, IC, 14-pin op amp IC. Okay, and this 14-pin op amp IC will have two op amps. So this way you may find some strange pin numbers, like pin number 10 is the output. Okay, usually what we have understood is pin number 6 was the output, but here it is a 14-pin IC, 14-pin op amp IC, which has two op amps in it. Okay, it comes with a variation, varying numbers in it. Okay, so this is the inverting amplifier. Of course, we can make out why inverting amplifier, because input AC is applied to inverting input. Okay, So guys, you please carefully observe this input, guys. Here there is a somebody's on the line. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this symbol, tilde symbol, that means that indicates it's a AC input. Okay, here we go. Whereas if you see these diagrams, figure number 6.1 and 6.2, 6.2 is with the input offset voltage, nullifying to nullify the output voltage. This is not necessary in a practical circuit, but okay, usually we have the nullifying circuit, no problem. Okay, yes, in this circuits, if you observe, we find only this empty circle, supply. In some textbook, they use this symbol, bigger slanting line and smaller slanting horizontal lines, that to represent a DC. Okay, but in this Ramakant Gaikwad book, the author uses a circle, empty circle, which indicates what you call it, DC source. It indicates if there's a tilde symbol inside, it indicates a AC source. Okay, that convention is followed in this textbook. If you are referring some other, what you call some other textbook, you may find different convention. Okay, so don't get confused. It's very simple. Okay, yeah, here we go. AC input. Sorry, yeah, AC input. AC input is applied to inverting input terminal. It acts as a inverting amplifier. In the previous circuit, what we discussed, this capacitor was not included. There is input coupling capacitor. If this is removed, it acts as this is nothing but a normal, DC amplifier. It's a normal DC amplifier in the absence of this capacitor. Okay, so we have a capacitor called as a coupling capacitor, input coupling capacitor, of course, because it is on the input side, which helps in blocking the DC content from this AC source. But what we understand is this DC content will make DC zero. We are assuming that we are feeding a pure AC, maybe, but still, if this is from a previous stage, as we discussed just now, if one op-amp is feeding another op-amp, in such case, okay, there is always a possibility that there is a DC component from the previous stage. Okay, so to prevent that, we have to have an input, what do you call, coupling capacitor. Okay, so that is the reason. Inverting amplifier. Okay, so output function remains the same. That is gain minus RF by R1. That is feedback resistor by the input resistor into VN. Okay, this doesn't change. Okay, but the only thing is this helps in preventing DC component getting into the circuit. Okay, but this will modify the operation of the circuit that we'll discuss next. Okay, so this is the what you call the capacitor coupled inverting amplifier. Next is a capacitor coupled non-inverting amplifier. Okay, in this case, guys, very simple. The inverting terminal is grounded via resistor R1, feedback resistor RF. Okay, and non-inverting input is given to the supply. There is AC source. Okay, AC source, of course, through input resistance Rin, which is equal to R0. There is effective resistance, so that the effective input impedance does not decrease. Effective input impedance in dividable they represent using Zin. In some other in this Ramakant Gaikwad book, it is represented using Ri. Okay, so effective input resistance does not decrease. It should be retained at a very high value, so that it does not affect the operation of the circuit. There exists a coupling capacitor at the input stage. Okay, and this ROM is the equivalent resistance of R1 plus R, because we have understood that let's see in the DC circuit. I'll go back to DC circuit quickly so that we will understand. Any of this. This is with coupling. What do you call? I need to rotate this page. I should have scanned rotated page. I should have scanned properly. Each time I need to rotate. Okay, here we go. Okay, yes, in this circuit, what happens is that there is a DC. Okay, in this line there is a DC current. I guess I'm discussing the DC circuit. You can observe that there is no tilde symbol given. That means it's a DC source. Okay, so here there is a DC current. Okay, IB1, let us say, for example. Okay, this is a DC. There is no DC in this network, in this non-inverting input. That's why we are using the equivalent resistance, which provides the path for the DC current to flow. Okay, see, Why provide a path is because, let us say, for example, assume that this input is kept open. Let us say what happens. Let us say this input is kept open. Let us say this resistor is not connected. Okay. In that case, say what will be the say. Guys, how does the what you call this electrons flow? Electron will flow from higher potential to lower potential. Correct. Always electrons flow from of course electrons, not electrons. Electrons will replace the holes. EMF difference exists between 2 points where the flow of charges takes place from higher potential to lower potential. Okay. If there is no ground, for example, if there is no, let us say, ground connected, there is no reference voltage. There cannot be any any flow of charges. So for that ground, this pin non-inverting input is connected to ground. Fine. Okay. Just because non-inverting input connected to ground, there may not be any much flow of charges, and our goal is to equalize bias current at both the non-inverting input terminal as well as inverting input terminal. Thereby, this additional resistance is required. Okay, so this we have to understand. We should not, if you look at the circuit as it is, it looks like this resistor is, useless. I mean, it doesn't serve any purpose. Why? Because this end is zero volts, and other end is also 0 volts. What is the use of this resistance? So it's obvious question, but this provides the path for the DC current to flow into the non-inverting input. Okay, that's very important. Okay, this circuit is, requires this resistance. If you see the AC amplifier, where input is AC, okay. I think I jumped it. Okay, this one is, the input is AC. When input is AC, say here for non-inverting input, there is a path for the DC current to flow. Why? Because there is a ground point. There is a path for the DC current to flow. But for AC input, there is no path for the DC current to flow. Why? Because from this network, only AC is coming. First of all, only AC is coming. Even if there is any left out DC in this AC, that is blocked by this capacitor, input coupling capacitor. So here there is no DC current. If there is no DC current, okay, to the base of the transistor, which represents the non-inverting input, then that particular transistor cannot be biased. That particular transistor cannot be biased. And hence, to bias this transistor, we have to provide a path for the DC current to flow. So for that, this additional resistance represented as ROM is used, whose value should be equivalent resistance at the inverting input terminal. What is the equivalent resistance at the inverting input terminal? It is a parallel combination of R1 and Rf. Why it is parallel combination? Last class we discussed, because this point is ground. There is 0 volts. This 0 volts. So and then this R1 and Rf acts as a parallel combination, and then this equivalent resistance should be equal to parallel combination of R1 and Rf. That's what it is. Okay, so this circuit uses input coupling capacitor. Yes, we can also, of course, output equation remains the same. Yes, there is no change in the output equation. We can also make use of output coupling capacitors, possible. Okay, as just now we have discussed, that circuit I erased. Just now, as we discussed, coupling capacitor is required at both the stages, because we have to block the input DC, as well as we have to block the DC component in the output circuit, output signal. Okay, so we require capacitor at both the ends. But in this textbook, Ramakant Gaikwad, the author has limited discussion only to the input capacitor. In fact, in David Abel, in the chapter 4 AC amplifiers, you can see the discussion is for both the input coupling capacitor as well as output coupling capacitors. Okay, yeah. So what is the effect of adding this? See, it's not that capacitor is added, DC is blocked. Fine. Okay, this will affect the the frequency of operation of the entire circuit. What is frequency of operation, guys? We had discussed this diagram. If you remember, this frequency response of an op amp. Okay, this is the frequency. This is the gain of a op amp. Okay, so what we have understood is, as the frequency increases, the gain gradually reduces, and at some point it becomes 0. Okay, there is upper cutoff frequency FU for upper cutoff frequency. In other books, you may find some other nomenclature. Okay, if you have input capacitor or the output capacitor in the op amp, then these cutoff frequencies are affected. Let us say, for example, there is a lower cutoff frequency FL, and there is a upper cutoff frequency Fu. These frequencies are affected when we have a coupling capacitors in an AC amplifier. Okay, if we don't have coupling capacitor, then it cannot be pure AC amplifier. We need to go for a coupling capacitor. But this since capacitor is a AC component, okay, this will affect the frequency of operation of the entire AC amplifier circuit. Okay, how it affects? So that let us understand using the formula. There is a frequency of operation of a operational amplifier circuit when the coupling capacitors are introduced into circuit. That then we call it as a AC amplifier. The coupling capacitor not only blocks DC voltage. See, if coupling capacitor had done only this job, there is blocking DC voltage, everybody would have been happy, but unfortunately not the case. It comes with a price. It also sets the lower cutoff frequency limit. Okay, what is the effect of setting the lower cutoff frequency? Because let us say there is no capacitor, for example. Let us assume that there is no capacitor in the picture. Okay, then it is only a DC amplifier. And let us assume that it is a DC amplifier. I'm sorry. Yes, it is an AC amplifier. I'm sorry, it is an AC amplifier without the coupling capacitors. Then the lowest cutoff frequency FL is 0 hertz. Okay, what is 0 hertz? DC. It is a DC component. Okay, that means the operation amplifier can be used anywhere from DC component to higher frequency of AC component. But this coupling capacitor sets the lower cutoff frequency FL, which is bigger than 0 hertz, Okay, and this FL, that is lower cutoff frequency set by the coupling capacitor, is given as FL is equal to 1 by 2 pi CI. CI is the input coupling capacitor. RIF, what is RIF? Yes, AC input resistance of the second stage plus R0. R0 is AC output resistance of the first stage of the source resistance. This is something like what the author is trying to say is this diagram. I think to go back to the diagram. Okay, no issues. I'll erase this. Okay, so let us say, guys, there is two stages of op-amp. Very simple. The author is trying to explain this simple point. Okay, there is a two stages of op-amp. Okay, this two stages of op-amp has the each stage has an input and output. What you call resistances. This is RF is the input resistance of this stage, RO is the output resistance of this stage, and RIF is the input resistance of this stage, and RO is the output resistance of this, for example. Okay. Okay. So thereby, in this situation, the RF is the say when we have a capacitor, we cannot forget the capacitor here. So this is the coupling capacitors at both the stages, at both the op amps. So these coupling capacitors, see for this op amp first op amp, first and second op amps. Okay, CA is the input. CA1 is the input coupling capacitor for first op amp. This is CO. There is output coupling capacitor of first op amp, but it's also the input capacitor for the second op amp. Okay, and what about this one, guys? CO2 output capacitor of this second op amp. Okay, so with respect to this second op amp, if you consider, okay, RIF is the input resistance, RO is the output resistance. Okay, with that understanding, lower cutoff frequency or low end of the bandwidth. What is low end of the bandwidth? Is what I had written, in the diagram we had written like this: low end of the bandwidth. Okay, FL, low end. Okay, so this low end of the bandwidth. What is low end indicates? So this is the actual, let us say, upper cutoff frequency. This is the bandwidth. This is the bandwidth. In this bandwidth, the lower end bandwidth, the lower end FL, okay, is set or it is affected. It is modified by the input coupling capacitor, whose and hence the frequency of operation of the operational amplifier can be represented as 1 by 2 pi CA into RIF plus RO. Okay. Okay, sir. Just a second. I need to hold on for a second. Yes, I need to mark the attendance. Give me a minute. Give me just a minute. Okay. This is okay. I need to open this important so that I can note down the clipping. No, just hold on a second. I think I have few clips taken. Okay, here we go. Okay, 63 is the today's strength, including me. 63 is the today's strength. Okay, here we go. No problem. Okay, so lower cutoff frequency FL is affected by CI. Okay, there is input coupling capacitors. Okay, capacitance between two stages being coupled or DC blocking capacitors is also called as a DC blocking capacitors. Okay, so in this case, RF is the input resistance of the second stage. Okay, so it's something like this. RF is the input of the second stage. Okay, for this op amp, this RF is the input of the second stage, and RO represents the output resistance of the first stage at the source op amp. Okay, something like this. This RO is the output resistance of the first stage. Okay, so yes, that means these two resistances are considered. RO and RF. Okay, yes. What is the comparison? RF is very large. It is in terms of mega ohms. Okay, this RO is very small. This is negligible compared to RF. We can comfortably neglect RO. So RF plus RO is still a larger quantity. Because RF is very large. What about this CI? Larger the value of CI, okay, smaller is the lower cutoff frequency. Okay, but smaller the value of CI, lesser is the blocking of the DC. Okay, so thereby we have to compromise here. That is, we have to select CI in such a way that it should block DC also, but it should not affect the lower cutoff frequency also. We want this bandwidth to be very high. We expect this bandwidth to be large. It should be infinite. For an ideal, infinite hertz. For an ideal, operational amplifier, this bandwidth should be infinite hertz, but not possible practically. Okay, so this is what is known as a lower cutoff frequency of an op amp. Okay. Similarly, we can set the upper cutoff frequency using the output capacitor. I think that is not discussed in this textbook. So I'm limiting myself to this textbook, because we're running out of time and we need to cover the topics. Okay. So the bandwidth of the amplifier, AC amplifier can be written as FH plus FH minus FL. Okay. So I think I have used a few. Let us say it is FH. Okay. FH minus FL. That is the bandwidth. Bandwidth is equal to FH minus FL. Okay. Ideally, this should be infinite. Infinity, because FL should be 0, FH should be infinity. So it should be ideally infinite hertz. But okay, practically it can go up to gigahertz. Sorry, megahertz. 3 to 4 megahertz. It depends. It depends on the op amp selected. Okay, so it depends on the so this bandwidth depends on the desired low value of F frequency, that is FL, and closed loop gain of the amplifier. So that's also matters. So the required value of CI can be calculated using the equation. Okay, so for a given frequency, for example, for a given lower cutoff frequency, we can calculate the value of CI using this formula, using this same formula. So given the frequency, if FL is given, then we can find out CI. CI is equal to 1 by 2 pi Fi. FL 1 by 2 pi F into resistance. Yeah, that is effective input resistance. Okay, because ROE can be negligible results. Okay, you can find out the value of unknown capacitor. There is a coupling capacitor which can be used in the circuit. So coupling capacitor not only provides lower cutoff frequency limit, also helps in DC level eliminate DC level amplification from stage to stage. Okay, so that means, let us say for example, if there is no what you call DC coupling capacitors or coupling capacitors. Okay, in this case, what happens? Each one of them is an amplifier. Okay, we know that amplifier has a very large gain. So even a small quantity of current, DC current, will be amplified by each stage. Each stage will amplify the current. Okay, let us say there are tens of hundreds of stages. Okay, so the DC current becomes very large. Okay, so to prevent that, the only possibility is make use of a capacitor. At each stage, make use of a capacitor. But this capacitor will affect the lower cutoff frequency of the operational amplifier. There is a drawback, but no other go. We have to somewhere we have to strike a compromise, and we have to arrive at a feasible solution to avoid the DC current, because it's an AC amplifier. That's why. Yeah. The input voltage Vn could be, preceding amplifier output. Okay, effect on the. Okay, so one more important point is this input capacitor Ci has no effect on the output offset voltage produced by the input offset voltage and the input offset current of the op amp. So it will not have any effect on the offset voltages. It doesn't hardly affect offset voltages. Okay. So although the critical, no, not critical, the output offset voltage may cause output amplifiers, may cause the output of the amplifiers to be distorted based on the amplitude of the input signals and the gain of the amplifier. So what the author is trying to say is output offset voltage, will affect the output offset voltage will affect the operation of the next stages of the amplifiers. It happens because, say, when the input is 0 volts, the output should have been 0. But if there exists any output offset voltage, then that will affect the various stages of the amplifiers. Okay, so to minimize the effect of the output offset voltage, offset minimizing resistance can be used, ROM, that we have seen earlier, so that output offset voltage can be nullified. It can be minimized to 0. Output capacitor, output coupling capacitor CO may be used between the output terminals of an amplifier in the next stage. What we have seen, this is CO. So this is if this is CI for this A1, so this is CO for A1. So let's say this is A2. For A2, if this is CI, then this will be CO. Okay, so that's what it is. Input coupling capacitor and output coupling capacitor. So CO will affect the bandwidth of the amplifier, because CO will affect the upper cutoff frequency. Okay. So offset minimizing the rest. Okay, networks. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the author is talking about nullifying, the output offset voltage. Okay. Okay, so for inverting amplifier, the gain is given as RF by R1. Okay, so for a non-inverting amplifier, it is 1 plus RF by R1. Okay, these two formulas are very basic, for inverting amplifier as well as the what the other point is, gain will not change. Okay, coupling capacitors will not affect the gain of the op amp, but it will affect the frequency of operation of the op amp. Okay, input coupling capacitor will affect FL, lower cutoff frequency. Output coupling capacitor will affect the upper cutoff frequency. So that is the in turn it will affect the bandwidth. But we wanted bandwidth to not to be affected, but no other go. Coupling capacitors is very bad for the frequency of operation of an op amp. Let's one simple example. Input resistance R in 50 ohms, CI 0.1 microfarad, R1 100 ohms. For inverting amplifier, guess this is for inverting amplifier. RF is 1 kilo ohm, and RL is load resistance 10 kilo ohm, and supply voltage is plus or minus 15 volts. Determine the bandwidth of the amplifier. So for a bandwidth, we need FL and FU. Okay. So you assuming RAF is equal to R1, that is approximately because we need RAF in the circuit, the equation, it's approximately 100 ohms with the feedback. This is, since inverting amplifier means it's a feedback. Okay, so source resistance RAN, which is equal to R0, because in the what you call in the coupling capacitor, coupling of op amp, when multiple op amps are interfaced, so input resistance. Effective input resistance is taken as output resistance, that is 50 ohms. Okay, so FL can be calculated as 1 by 2 pi. C value is 0.1 microfarad, that is 10 to the power minus 7, and input resistance is 100 plus 50, RAF plus RO, RIN, RAF plus RIN, then it is 150. So lower cutoff frequency is approximately 10.6 kilohertz. Okay, this is the lower cutoff frequency. What about higher cutoff frequency is? That depends on the the gain of an operation amplifier. Gain is minus RF by R1. It is approximately 10. Minus 10 in the sense it is an inverting amplifier. That's why we have minus 10. Gain is not negative, but it is an inverting amplifier. The higher frequency cutoff FH can be calculated as FH is equal to unity gain bandwidth. This formula is not discussed earlier. There is this is one way of finding the upper cutoff frequency. Guess in the earlier class, if you remember, in one of the previous classes, I had discussed what is known as a unity gain bandwidth. As one of the characteristics of an operation amplifier. I think 2 class back, something like this. Okay, this is the frequency. This is the gain of the amplifier. The gain reduces, and at some point gain, sorry, this mouse sticks, and I have the problem. Okay, anyway, okay, at some point the gain becomes unity. Gain is initially very large. Let us say, for example, 50k, for example. Okay, gain is very, very large. So at some point the gain becomes 1. Okay, this point is as a upper cutoff frequency of, let us say, FU. The bandwidth is FU minus FL, FH minus FL. For example, in this textbook, the author uses FH. Okay, this bandwidth is called as unity gain bandwidth. This bandwidth is called as unity gain. Who will tell us this unity gain bandwidth? Can we start, take a op amp, start plotting this waveform? Not necessary. There's data sheet will provide the value of unity gain bandwidth for a given op amp. For example, let's say 714 or 741. There are many op amps. Okay, so thereby example unity gain bandwidth is 10 power 6. Okay, 10 power 6 into k, that is 0.909. Okay, divided by AF. What is AF? Gain is approximately 90.9 kilohertz. You can take it as 91 kilohertz, no problem. Okay, that means operational amplifier upper cutoff frequency is approximately 91 kilohertz. 91 kilohertz. Okay, so then what is the bandwidth difference of lower cutoff frequency and upper cutoff frequency? It is approximately 80.3 kilohertz. That is the bandwidth of the given operational amplifier with capacitor coupling. Only at the input stage, not at the output stage. Yes, this is very important, because upper cutoff frequency is not affected. It is affected only by the unity gain bandwidth, not by the what you call capacitor, upper cutoff frequency. Okay, so only lower input coupling capacitor is given. Only for the input coupling capacitor, this is the bandwidth. Just imagine, the bandwidth is so small, that means 80.3 kilohertz means it can operate only for a AC signal whose variation is anywhere from not even 0 hertz. It is actually 10 kilohertz. Okay, from 10 kilohertz to a maximum of 80.3 kilohertz. 80.3 kilohertz. That's again, the bandwidth of the operation amplifier with a capacitor coupling. Okay, this AC amplifier with single supply. I'm not sure whether this is necessary to be discussed. Okay, let's quickly go through this. It's very simple, no problem. AC amplifier with a single supply, power supply. Okay, this, what is the important point here is, I'll just go through the. Okay, now V0 is here. We go. VCC. Okay, yes, yeah. It's an inverting amplifier. Okay, it's generally capacitor coupled inverting AC amplifier. Very simple. To be more specific, guess what happens in this circuit? In the earlier circuit, we had seen one. We didn't add this circuit. We had only a resistor connected to ground. That was called as ROM, and ROM was equal to R1 parallel RF. In the earlier circuit, what we had seen. Okay, yes. Now what happens is that instead of, in that circuit, we had applied plus VCC and minus VE. We can operate operation amplifier with a single polarity supply, that is plus VCC, and connecting negative supply to ground, that is minus VE to ground. In this way we can operate. But the only condition is that the non-inverting amplifier should be supplied with a voltage of VCC by 2. See, earlier we had connected it to ground through resistor ROM. Okay, ROM, but now it has to be connected through, it has to be supplied with VCC by 2. Okay, so at one end we have VCC, we have two resistors which acts as a voltage divider network. The other end of this resistor network is connected to ground. Okay, it's a potentiometer basically. So vary the potentiometer such that we arrive at VCC by 2. Okay. You may ask a question, why 2 is a potentiometer? We know VCC, apply VCC by 2 here. Okay. It may not be the case because we may vary the VCC. We may vary VCC from plus or minus 12 volts to, for example, let us say plus or minus 15 volts. This is possible. So better to use VCC. Okay. So this non-inverting input terminal cannot be 0. It should be supplied with VCC by 2. Okay, fine. Now what is the difference? What is the effect of this? Okay, if you had connected a resistor to ground, then the reference voltage is 0 volts. Then the reference voltage is 0 volts normally. Okay, now the reference voltage at the non-inverting input terminal is not 0. It is equal to VCC by 2. It's a DC. Moreover, it's a DC. This, all this VCC is a DC component. Okay, so because of this, how the output is going to be affected, that will let us understand. Okay, what is the effect of using a single polarity supply? I think Athar has explained for both inverting as well as non-inverting amplifier. AC inverting no, it's input and output waveforms. Okay, here we go. Okay, yes. Okay, now let us say this is the input voltage applied to inverting input terminal. Okay, see, normally what we were expecting is output is something like this. Let me take the pen. Yeah, and first I'll close this. Yeah, here we go. Guys, observe this. This is the input voltage. Okay, this is the input voltage applied to operational amplifier. Okay, it is a normal AC voltage. Okay, what is, since it's inverting amplifier, what is expected is something like this. Output should have been like this. If the non-inverting input connected to ground through a resistor, output would have been like this. Very simple. Straight away. Positive cycle gives the negative cycle. No problem. Okay. But since it is connected to VCC by 2, now it is connected to VCC by 2, what happens is that the reference voltage is no more 0, it is VCC by 2. VCC by 2. Okay, that means this is what we had understood in ADC lab. What is that, guys? Clamping circuit. Yes, you remember clamping circuit, guys? We had what is known as clamping circuit. What happens in a clamping circuit, guys? When you add DC to AC, when you add DC to AC, we had seen that the waveform shifted upwards. By what amount? It depends on amount of DC you add to the circuit. Here we are adding VCC by 2. In this normal circuit, assuming that output is saturating. What is output is saturating is? What I mean by output saturating? That is, let us say, for example, this is VCC and this is VCC. That is saturating. Actually, it is VCC minus 1. It's not VCC. It is going to be VCC minus 1. Okay. In this situation, if you add the VCC by 2 as the non-inverting input voltage, okay, non-inverting input voltage, then waveform will be shifted upwards, positive clamping, by a value of VCC by 2. By a value of VCC by output still remains a inverting output. It is an inverting output, no doubt, but it is DC shifted by a value given which is equal to the value applied to the non-inverting. See, if you vary this, let us say, for example, you vary this potentiometer towards 0. Let us say towards 0. It acts as a normal inverting amplifier with a DC bias of 0 volt. If you vary towards VCC, it acts as a still AC inverting AC amplifier with a DC biasing output of VCC. If you write the diagram, it will be something like this. It will be something like this. Sorry, let us write it more clearly. I'll change the color if possible. It will be something like this. Still I'm wrong. Something like this. It will be something like this. Okay. If this point is moved towards VCC, this will be the output. This will be the output. Okay, because this average value will be VCC. Average value will be VCC. That's all. Yes, if you remember, this is what we used to get in the the laboratory. There was a signal generator in ADC lab. We have used signal generator. In that signal generator, there was various knobs. One of the knob is called as a DC offset. If you remember, there was a knob called as DC offset. Okay. What does this DC offset do? It will add DC to AC. Okay. This is the knob in the signal generator or function generator model. Okay, there is nothing but this point, So here we are varying the DC to add DC component to AC. That's what it is. Okay. So this is what is known as a single polarity supply. We can operate with a single polarity supply, no problem. Okay. Example, on for a 741 op amp, single polarity supply, operating in single polarity supply. Okay, so for supply range is 3 to 30 volts. I think this for LM 3 to 4. Okay, LM 3 to 4. Bias current is 45 nanoamperes. Output current is 5 nanoamperes. Okay, output voltage is 2 millivolts. Okay, so supplied. This is the characteristics of a LM 3 to 4, which can be operated with a single polarity supply. Even 741 also can be operated with a single polarity supply. Okay. What is the operate in a single polarity? These op-amps have a wide supply range and low output input offsets. Okay. The advantage, advantage of using LM324, it has a low input offset voltage. Okay. And the voltage range is 3 to 30 volts. With a single polarity supply, I think the numerical problem, non-inverting amplifier with Rin, input capacitor, coupling capacitor 0.1 microfarad, R1, R2, R3, 100 kilo ohms, RF 1 mega ohm, that is effective input resistance, VCC plus or minus plus 15 volts. It's not plus or minus 15 volts. In the earlier program, the problem it was plus or minus 15 volts. It's a single polarity supply problem. Determine the bandwidth of the amplifier, maximum output voltage swing. Okay, let us quickly go through this problem because this deals with an non-inverting amplifier and it considers single polarity supply. Okay, so for RAF we have to consider parallel combination of R1, R2, and R3. So this is let us observe the diagram again. This is the diagram. Here you can see RAF. Where is RAF? This there is effective input resistance. RAF, okay, which is observe this parallel combination of R2 and R3. Why not it is series? One end is VCC, other end is ground, 0 volts, and middle point is different voltage. Middle point has a different potential. Okay, so hence R2 and R3 is the what do you call parallel combination, which gives the effective input resistance of RAF. Okay? So RAF is R2 R3, which is parallel R2 R3 parallel, which is further in parallel with the effective input resistance, input impedance, that is Ra into 1 plus AB. This we had seen early in the characteristics. We discussed effective input resistance, that is Ra into 1 plus AB. Okay, so what is RAF? Because this is a very large quantity. Ra is very large quantity. Okay, as we discussed in the earlier class, when two resistance are in parallel, okay, let's say R1 and R2, the effective resistance is, okay, for example, let's say R1 is larger than R2, for example. Okay, then R2 is actually smaller than R2. Yes, correct. Sorry, effective resistance RE will be smaller than R2. RE will be smaller than R2. Okay, so that's why effective resistance is approximately equal to R2 parallel R3. Okay, since RA into 1 plus AB is a very large quantity, it's not even comparable, to either R2 or R3. RF is 100 kilo ohms parallel 100 kilo ohms, which gives 50 kilo ohms. From this, because it's a capacitor coupled amplifier, AC amplifier, lower cutoff frequency FL represented as 1 by 2 pi 10 power minus 7, that is 0.1 microfarad, 50k plus 50. That's RAF plus RL, that is 31.8 hertz. Lower cutoff frequency is 31.8 hertz. What about upper cutoff frequency is using unity gain bandwidth, which is 1 megahertz unity gain bandwidth divided by AF. There is gain, closed loop gain. For a non-inverting amplifier, it is 1 plus RF by R1. For a non-inverting amplifier, 1 plus RF by R1. R1, which is equal to 11. So from that we get upper cutoff frequency to be 90.91 hertz. Okay. So from this we can find out the bandwidth. Bandwidth is FH minus FL, approximately 90.88 kilohertz. Okay. So ideally maximum output voltage swing is equal to VCC. That means it cannot exceed plus or minus plus 15 volts because it's a single polarity supply. It cannot exceed, see, plus voltage means, if you guys observe, since we have a single, what the author is, trying to say is, okay, this we'll discuss next. Okay, so what the author is trying to say is, since it is a same, if you have plus 15 volts and minus 15 volts, that is dual supply op amps, swing output swing can be between plus 15 volts and minus 15 volts. Since it is only single polarity supply, the output swing should be between 0 volts and plus 15 volts. 0 volts and plus 15 volts. It cannot exceed plus 15 volts. So swing is between 0 and plus 15 volts. Okay. Usually 1 volt less than this, guys. Generally, practically, what we can see is it is always 1 volt less than the supply voltage. Generally, usually in practical terms, it will not reach plus 15 volts, not possible, in practical circuits. Okay, that's about AC amplifiers. Next, we have to discuss what is known as a peaking amplifier, applications of op amp. I think that circuit is given here in the above this topic. Okay? Oh, this is a peaking amplifier, schematic diagram, and what is known as a frequency response. Okay. So what is just quickly, just 2 minutes, we'll introduce peaking amplifier, and we'll continue in the next class. Peaking response, there is nothing but the frequency response that peaks. There is spikes at a certain frequency, which can be obtained by using a parallel LC network with the op amp. Okay, with the additional parallel LC network, we can achieve peaking at a particular frequency. Okay. So figure shows the peaking amplifier that uses parallel LC network in the feedback part. Please observe the circuit. See, in the absence of this LNC component, in the absence of these two components, it is nothing but a normal inverting amplifier. Okay, we are applying the voltage to inverting input, inverting amplifier. Consider this LNC as a parallel combination. We can achieve peaking at a particular frequency. Okay, so this is peaking amplifier. Okay, so a peaking amplifier, the resonant frequency or peak frequency at which the peaking occurs is determined by the combination of L and C. Okay, so that peaking frequency is given by 1 by 2 pi square root of LC. So if the quality of the coil is quality factor is greater than 10, so where Q coil is the figure of merit of the coil. Okay, so for a figure of merit of 10 and above, this formula holds good. That is Fp is equal to 1 by 2 pi square root of LC. So the impedance of the parallel LC network is very large at a resonant frequency. Parallel network impedance, will be very high at a particular frequency, that is resonant frequency. Okay. Therefore, the gain of the amplifier at the resonance frequency is maximum and given by. Okay, the gain of the amplifier at resonant frequency is given as AF is equal to. Okay, we'll find out how do we arrive at this. How did we arrive at this formula? Minus RF in parallel with RP divided by R1. Okay, yes, if you observe this, this network. Guys, I think. Oh, guys, it's time. Yes, I'll continue. I'll continue next class. Because you guys need some break, and yeah, next hour class also. Okay. I'll continue, guys. I'll continue. Okay. Guys, take care. Guys, just hold on, guys. Don't leave the class because it's 66 now. Let me take a screenshot because including me, of course, it is 66. Okay, here we go. I think there's a screenshot. Guys, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. Stay home, stay safe. Take care. Bye. Good day.